I imagine a little bit of a glorious night for you watching Boston stumble in the second half, specifically the third quarter.
Well, listen, I'm not anti-Celtics to the level I once was. I thought Danny Ainge was running a bit of a Ponzi scheme, always talking about the future, and now he's gone. And by the way, Tatum and Brown were his draft picks, and so I give him credit. Now, one would argue Brad Stevens in a summer made better moves than Danny Ainge had made in the previous 5 years, flipping Kimba for Al Horford. That seems to have worked out quite well. But I'm not as anti-Boston as I once was. But here's what I liked about what I saw last night. And, Colin, we acknowledge in the NBA all the time that there are guys that are legendary regular season performers that flatly every year in the playoffs get a little bit worse.
Yes.
Karl Malone was one of these guys.
Yeah.
Karl Malone's regular season resume is one of the, 8 greatest players ever. His postseason resume is not that, so he gets dinged. Obviously, James Harden is one of those guys. We don't ever talk about the reverse. What about the only actual playoff Jimmy in sports? Not the beloved Jimmy Garoppolo, but Jimmy Butler. A guy who in the regular season, how about this, Colin? The last 6 years, Jimmy Butler in the regular season has 0 40-point games. But in the last 3 playoff runs, he has 5 of them.
Yeah.
A guy who went toe-to-toe with LeBron for the first 4 games of an NBA Finals. Last year, obviously, was bad for the Heat. And now this year, he just annihilated Jason Tatum and the Celtics all on mid-range jumpers and free throws. So I have a lot of respect for what the Heat have built. I have a lot of respect for them fighting for the 1 seed. And I have a lot of respect for Jimmy Butler, who doesn't really seem to care about much other than get me to the playoffs and see what I can do.
Yeah.
And I thought that third quarter was a tour de force. They played perfect defense for 6 minutes and flipped the game. And Colin, by the way, if the Heat had lost that game, what's the narrative? Oh my God, they lost at home. Boston didn't have Smart or Horford. The Heat are sunk. Now the Heat feel like they're in good position to win the series.
All right, so you were very early on this. Very early on Luka and Dallas being the dark horse.
The earliest.
The earliest, exactly. Not early.
Not the dark horse, the favorite.
Okay.
I picked them to go to the finals 2 months ago. Tried to get you to ride with me. You didn't want to do it, but go ahead. So.
All right. So you have them, I imagine, beating Golden State, which has far more offensive depth. They've got far more playoff experience. Many would argue the elite coach.
Yeah.
What is it about you like Dallas to win this series?
Oh, yeah, I like Dallas to win this series, and I like Dallas to win this series easily. I think it's Dallas in 5. Here's the deal, Colin. So the simple explanation is that, I told you 2 months ago that 15 years ago we saw a 22-year-old transcendent talent who, looks for the best pass for, he looks for the best shot, who's 6'8", who's stronger than he even looks, carry somewhat of a hodgepodge cast of no other All-Stars to the NBA Finals, and we're going to see that again. So the simple version is it's a legendary player who's been playing at the highest stakes against grown men since he was 16 years old, and this is the next step in his arc towards being one of the greatest players ever. The more complicated explanation, however, is one about the X's and O's of this series, and I think I've got a few things that'll shock you. Did you know this year against the Mavericks, Steph Curry averaged 20 points on 39% shooting, 29% from 3. Did you know that this was, in fact, against the Mavericks, Steph Curry averaged 67% from the free throw line? One would think maybe he was beat up a bit. I think this is an awful matchup for the Warriors. I think it's the worst possible matchup for the Warriors because they are going to have to go either offense or defense, and it's not hockey and you can't do shifts. You're going to have Steph, Poole, Clay, and Draymond out there in your crunch time minutes. Who's your 5th guy? Well, if you want to have another rim protector, because Draymond's going to be out on the perimeter at times trying to guard Luka, you go Looney. Now you have no offense because now you have 2 guys the Mavs flatly will not guard, in Draymond and Looney, and that can wreck you. So, okay, now we're going to go Wiggins. We're going to go Wiggins out on the as our 5th guy. Okay, then you have 1 rim protector, and he's Draymond, who's also the only guy who has any shot to guard Luka. So you send him to guard Luka. Now you have no rim protection. You leave him inside. Now you're asking who to guard Luka. I think that Jordan Poole's defense is going to be exploited. I think they'll only target Steph Curry when they really have to because Poole's the more exploitable one. I think missing Gary Payton Jr. actually really hurts him in this series. I think the Mavericks win tonight. I would not take Dallas +5. I'd take Dallas on the money line. I think they win both in Dallas, and I think it's 3-1, and Luka's not blowing a 3-1 lead. Yeah, I think that right now Dallas is rolling on all cylinders, and I don't know why people would listen to me on this one except for the fact I've been right about the Mavericks every single step of the way, every game they play.
Humility is one of my favorite qualities for Nick Wright. Now,
yeah.
So you like Daryl Morey. I like Daryl Morey. But we went and looked up a couple days ago championship teams over the last decade. You don't have to be perfect. You can have flaws. What you can't have is a terrible contract. It literally lessens your bench, lessens your flexibility. You sign James Harden long term, you'll have the worst contract in the NBA for 4 years. Now, Daryl Morey made a promise, probably told him privately, I'm going to sign you. But it's very easy, since the fans and media will support you, that the owner for the Sixers could come in and say, Daryl didn't get it okayed by me. We're not signing him to a long contract. I think it takes them out of the championship window. 50-45 for Harden is you're out. You're not winning championships. You're not doing it. You won't have Milwaukee's bench or Boston's bench or Miami's bench. What do you do with a Harden factor? Because deep down people believe Daryl Morey promised James Harden, you're here to end your career.
Well, I don't know if Daryl did that or not. I haven't heard that he made any promises. I understand why people would think he did because they have such a long-term relationship. But Daryl's not a dumb man. And Daryl knows he's, the one thing he hasn't done in this league is win a championship, make the finals, despite having some great teams. I think everything is on the board with Harden. I think it is on the board. He simply opts in to the $47 million. I also think, there have been, I think Brian Windhorst was the first one to mention this. If it wasn't him, I apologize for misquoting him, that there was a rumor that Harden's plan was to come to Philly and take less money so they can supplement the team. You got to keep in mind, James Harden has made, between the Adidas contract and his NBA contracts, already $500 million. And I understand James Harden likes going out, but you can't spend $500 million $1 at a time, so I'm sure he's got a lot of money left over. So I do think there is a chance, thanks for getting the joke, Joy, I do think there is a chance that James Harden signs long-term, but it is not for this $45 million a year. Everyone seems to be preemptively concerned about a contract that James Harden has not signed and has not yet been offered. Obviously, giving James Harden 5 for $270 would be a disastrous maneuver. I do not think that contract is going to be offered to him.
All right. I love Chris Paul. He is 37. He was 14 for 14 in a closeout game a week earlier, and now he's supposedly bad. What did you make of the meltdown by Phoenix? What was your takeaway on that?
Well, a number of things. One is, you know what they always say, Colin, 37, incredibly young to be America's most accurate sportscaster, but incredibly old to be a starting point guard in the Western Conference Finals. And all of a sudden, he looked his age. But, Colin, I don't know how much you're a believer in the basketball gods or basketball karma, but my takeaway was the basketball gods did not like how the Phoenix backcourt was conducting themselves. Game one of the series. Now, let me present you the evidence. Game one of the series. Luka drops 45. CP3's asked about him after the game. CP3 scoffs. Says, they got a lot of good players, including Theo Pinson, who didn't even dress for the game. That was a little curious. Game two for the series. After they attack Luka defensively, Chris Paul and Devin Booker are smirking at each other and keying on the podium. Did that remind you of anything? Reminded me a bit, and I said at the time, of LeBron and D. Wade mocking Dirk Nowitzki, a different Mavericks legend from a land far, far away, during Game 3 of the NBA Finals. And then, so right when that happened, Chris Paul stopped playing well. And right after that, 2 times mocking Luka Doncic, basketball god said, that's enough, my friend. This guy's a legend. We're not going to have it. But Devin Booker had only done it once. He was fine. Then Devin Booker had the audacity to turn to the cameras after a flop to get a flagrant foul and call it the Luka special. From that moment forward, Devin Booker shot 22% and had 11 turnovers and 22 points the rest of the series. Not great. So I think those guys played with a little bit of fire. I think they were mocking Luka. I think they were scoffing at the basketball gods. I think all those things. And you don't do that with legendary players. And so I think if you're the Suns, you have a fork in the road moment. Because Sarver's not going to keep Chris and pay Ayton. The question is, everyone's talking about them letting Ayton walk. You already have Booker. Do you pay Ayton and find a home for Chris Paul? Like a home, I don't know, sunny Southern California. You can get Russ. You can get off another contract, get some picks, buy out Russ. I'm just saying. The Lakers like old guys. Chris Paul can get on LeBron's, a rehab schedule. It could all work out. But I don't think they're going to have, it's not going to be the same team. And I feel like the Devin Booker, Chris Paul window slammed shut.
Yeah. And
a young Slovenian man slammed it on him.
All right. Nick Wright. So I like that it's not only Dallas beating Golden State, it's beating them quickly. And so my FanDuel bet today was Dallas plus 5 or 5.5 and Steph Curry under 27.5. Because I think, like you, I think they're going to throw a ball. I think they're going to make Steph work on the defensive end, and they're going to let Jordan Poole beat them or Klay Thompson. That's my takeaway in the series.
Yeah.
All right.
All right, well, that seems complicated. I'll just bet Dallas to win. you got under points. You got a plus 5. Let's just go Dallas on the money line, my friend. Let's make it nice and simple for the audience. Good seeing you. Welcome back, my friend.
Thank you. What's Right with Nick Wright podcast. New episodes every Sunday, Tuesday, and Thursday. Thanks, my man, Nick Wright. Hi, everybody. Thanks for watching. Subscribe here to get the latest from the show. Also, be sure to check out more of the best clips from The Herd or go watch a few segments from other shows on FS1.